Extra, extra, read all about it. Oh, good morning, YouTube. What's up, everybody? I hope you're safe and healthy and happy and doing okay. As the paper suggests, the SuperBlast has arrived. I'm a little late to getting my review up there. Caught the COVID, but we're back in action, and I'm ready to talk about the Asics SuperBlast. Right off the bat, I'll say that Asics gets points for this colorway. I think it's super cool, nice color combo, and I'm digging it. Now, I understand you might be like, well, what is this blast? We have the Nova Blast. Do we need a Super Blast? What is the Super Blast? We're gonna cover all of that here today. But basically, a little summary of this is that the Super Blast is Asics' newest Blast series shoe. And what this is meant to do is to be able to take you the distance for long runs, be able to be your tempo day shoe, and everything in between. They want this to be your versatile workhorse shoe. Think souped up Nova Blast. I have 2 runs in this shoe and quite a bit of walking from spectating the New York City Marathon. So I think I have a pretty decent idea as to what to expect from the SuperBlast. We're gonna talk about all that. But first, here is the run footage. Today, I do want to let you know that this shoe was sent to me by Asics. However, they're not going to see this video before you. They can't tell me what to say, and all of my opinions are always all of my own. Let's start with the upper. Asics is using an asymmetric mesh design here. It's pretty lightweight and breathable. There aren't really overlays per se, but I do think this design helps to create a little bit of structure in that midfoot. The heel counter is sturdy, and the shoe comes with a nice pull tab. I've seen a couple of people say that the upper of the shoe doesn't really work for them. I didn't experience that. I think that this shoe worked pretty well for me. If we turn the shoe over this way, I have a nice amount of room in that toe box, both length and width-wise. And I would say that the shoe is average in terms of like width, narrowness. Again, as I always say, I have a narrow foot, so it worked fine for me. If you have a wider foot, I'm not exactly sure how it would work for you, but definitely something worth trying on if you're able to. The tongue of the shoe is thin. It's a neoprene construction. It is gusseted, so it didn't slip and slide around the entire time. We have some padding around the ankle collar of the shoe for comfort. And the only thing I didn't really love about this upper were the laces. They're just a little bit thin for my personal preference. I was still able to get a decent fit with the laces. They didn't really come on tight or anything. Just wish they were maybe a little thicker. I think it's a good balance between what you expect from a daily trainer's upper and also what you expect from a racing shoe's upper. They sort of combined the two and created a nice, lightweight, pretty breathable package. I thought it was comfortable. I had no issues with hot spots, irritation, or blistering in the SuperBlast. So overall, really nice job. So far, so good with the SuperBlast. But the real headline of the SuperBlast is the midsole. Headline. Get it? Here, Asics is utilizing 2 of their very popular foams. This big old thick orange slab is the FF Blast Turbo cushioning that you'll see in their Metaspeed line. That's their super shoe line. So here you're getting tons of that super shoe foam, which is pretty cool. And then the greenish layer, this thin greenish layer here, is the FF Blast Plus cushioning that you see in shoes like the Nova Blast. One thing that's different though about the Super Blast as opposed to super shoes that have this FF Turbo is that there is no plate in this shoe. So immediately I was really excited to see how a super shoe foam feels without a plate. Something that I'm always really curious about when I am reviewing super shoes is I wonder how this foam would feel without the carbon plate to kind of help it be a little bit more propulsive. Immediately when I stepped into this shoe, I was like, wow, this feels really cushioned and bouncy. Like walking around, I did feel that foam kind of pushing back and being a little bit responsive, which was awesome. And then I got COVID, so I couldn't run in it for weeks. But I will tell you, initially, my first experience with this shoe for a long period of time was spectating the New York City Marathon, and it felt great. And I think we walked like 7 miles that day. No problems with it whatsoever. So I had really high hopes for running in it. When I finally did get to run in it, I was not let down. This shoe has tons of protection and cushioning, and the FF Blast Turbo feels really fun on foot without that plate. With each step, you just feel that nice sinking in feeling that you expect from like a more max cushion shoe, but it doesn't feel like quicksand. And I think that the Turbo foam really is good for that because it's meant to be a little bit more responsive. Like it's soft, but it's not too soft. I think honestly the FF Turbo foam would be a little bit firm in a sense if it didn't have the FF Blast Plus under it to give it even more cushioning. So I think that these two foams really do work nicely together, and I think it was a great idea for Asics to mesh the two and see how they did. What the FF Turbo lacks, the FF Blast Plus provides, and vice versa. I did a 3-mile easy run in this shoe earlier in the week, and then yesterday I did a 5-mile run in this shoe, easier, with a couple strides here and there. And it's just super enjoyable. I could absolutely see people using this for a long run shoe in a marathon training cycle. I could see people using this for a half marathon. Really anything this works for. And if you're wondering how the strides felt, they felt pretty good. I would say that this might not be my first choice for racing like a short distance, only because to me it does feel like a big shoe on foot, and it looks it too. Like on my big foot, this shoe looks like a literal cruise ship. But the strides did feel pretty good if you want to incorporate those into a long run. I did feel like I was able to get up on my toes just fine, and I felt response without that plate, and that is a great feeling. If you go back to my Nova Blast 3 video, I was kind of underwhelmed by that shoe. I thought that it lacked the cushioning and the excitement and response that I was kind of hoping for, that I had felt in other versions of Nova Blasts. But I think that the Super Blast is what I was kind of hoping the Nova Blast would be. Stability wise, this is a neutral shoe, not a stability shoe, but because you do ask, I think that it's not terrible. I overpronate slightly, but there's certainly shoes with high stack like this that are way more unstable. The Super Blast is another one of those shoes where I don't really want to run in anything else, but boy do I need to. I am so backed up, but it's really fun, and I can use it for a bunch of different things. Turning the Super Blast over to that outsole, you have AHAR plus rubber, that's the black stuff you see, and in the center there in the forefoot you have what Asics is calling a trampoline pod. This is to help with response and bounce and cushioning, energy return, all of that stuff. And I think it does. I don't feel it while I'm running, but I do feel like the center of the shoe has a nice pop to it, and perhaps this trampoline pod just helps with that. I don't have a ton of miles on this shoe yet, but from NYC spectating and my 8 miles in it so far, I'm not seeing any wear. Thank goodness, that would be a problem. Even on the exposed foam, not seeing anything really. One thing though that I do want to point out is I normally really like Asics rubber, and I don't dislike this, but I ran yesterday in wetter conditions and I did feel like the shoe was slipping slightly. I did feel it kind of like going out from under me a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but just something that I wanted to point out. I don't know if it's gonna be the best in wetter conditions. It could just be that there's really not a lot of rubber here, whereas in other Asics shoes, there is a lot more. So maybe it's the exposed foam here, I don't know. So let's talk about price, and I can already hear you guys typing away about the price of this shoe on runningwarehouse.com. This is gonna cost you $219.95. And yes, that is a pretty hefty price tag. I'm not gonna sit here and try to justify the price of this shoe, but I will kind of explain why I think it's a lot of money. They're using Asics premium foam here for all of their most expensive shoes, and you have a ton of it. All this orange, this Flight Foam Blast Turbo. I think that's costing you a pretty penny on top of this kind of fancy woven upper and the other layer of Flight Foam Blast Plus here. Now my thought process here is this: if you're a person who only wants one shoe that you're gonna do all of your training in, then $220 is kind of worth it. Now another point that I kind of think about here is that I know a lot of you probably have super shoes that cost over this price tag, that you probably use a lot less than you would use a shoe like this that can be used for training and tempo and all different kinds of things. So just something to think about. If you're interested in picking up your own pair of the SuperBlast, you can do so at the link in the description of this video. Right now on runningwarehouse.com, they are available for pre-order, so you can just pick your size, add it to your cart, and I think they'll be shipped to you sometime in December. Keep in mind, this link is an affiliate link with runningwarehouse.com. However, that doesn't mean much for you. It just helps out my channel so I can continue to make videos like this about shoes that I am really pumped about and want to share with you. I think you get where I stand on this shoe, but I feel like Asics leveled up the daily trainer workhorse shoe game with this shoe. They proved that you can take a nice fancy super shoe foam, stick it in a daily trainer with a nice little layer of that daily trainer foam, and make a really efficient, solid shoe that can be used for things other than just racing. This is right up my alley. This is the kind of shoe that I enjoy, and I will certainly be taking this to 50 miles, probably faster than all the other shoes that I have done first run impressions of in the past couple months, because I like it that much. Well everyone, that concludes my first run impressions of the Asics SuperBlast. If you enjoyed this video, please like it down below and subscribe. And when you're done with all that, hit the notifications bell so you can find out every time I upload a new video. It's super. I have another video for you next week, but in the meantime, get out there, get on the grind, and don't forget to run like Heller. See you next time. Chicago man recalls first sighting the unbelievable. Kofuzi bears witness to the SuperBlast. Huh. Kofuzi made the paper.